Hello. Bl'Artagnan here with Divine Brothers Lufenia, bringing a team of Garland, Fujin, and Arciela. Before we get into it, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really does help the channel grow, and I appreciate it. Also, as of last night, I've begun streaming on Twitch alongside Raw Life and Type Zoe at 8:30 Eastern Time every Monday. I'll include a link to the channel below, but if you enjoy the content here, come check us out there. We have some fun times. We talk DFFOO, have some fun conversations, and it's a good way to start your week. So, with the shilling out of the way, what do we got going on here? Divine Brothers is basically just a delay fight. They want you to never let these guys really get to take a turn. If you do, they have a bunch of frustrating mechanics designed to mess you up. Obviously, this is intended to sell Cloud of Darkness with the whole 3-turn delay thing that it brings. But I wanted to bring something a little bit different. Garland, of course, is fantastic here. He's fantastic at any delay stage. But the thinking with Fujin and Arciela here was that I saw that they were also immune to speed down. And the way my brain works is if I see a boss immune to a generic debuff, my first thought is, that debuff must work especially good against them. There's a reason we're not supposed to use this here. I'm going to bring the unique forms of that debuff and make it work anyway. And that's what we got going on here. We have Arciela with her unique speed down. We have Garland with his speed down aura, actually. And I had originally planned to bring Kurasame for his speed down, but when I actually got around to doing the run, I kind of forgot he existed and brought Fujin instead. Part of my thinking there was that I figured her C65 might give us some wiggle room with the orb later in the fight. It ends up not really mattering that much, but with the Imperil and the enchant and the speed boost and even the launch, she actually ends up helping quite a bit because Garland delays in midair, and so that ends up giving us some unexpected delay utility, as you can see right there. The last thing here is with Arciela, I assumed these bosses were going to be immune to HP silence, but it turns out they're not. Usually when the bosses are supposed to be delayed and never allowed to get turns, they don't let you use lockdown alongside it. They want you to use delayed to stop them from killing you. And so I was certain they wouldn't just let us HP silence them the whole fight. It turns out they do. Obviously, with the orb, we're not going to want the second form of these guys to take a turn, but in the meantime, we're happy letting these guys take as many turns as they really want, because they can't do shit while it happens. Another nice thing about Arciela is she's a support who isn't terribly reliant on battery, which is handy since during there are parts of this fight where you're not allowed, where it cancels your battery. It doesn't let you use battery unless you delay them by 3 turns, which we're not going to be able to do for most of the fight. So the bosses handily enough delay themselves and do a brave charge here, once you bring one of them below 80. Yeah, the synergy between Fujin and Garland was actually pretty surprising and pleasant for me. Obviously he loves being enchanted and he loves launchers, so it works out really great. I think this is actually my first time using Fujin since I pulled her LD. I think I've told the story before, but I went in on her banner. Well, you can check my pull video on it, but I didn't get her LD and figured, okay, that's fine. And then later decided, you know what, I want to use Bart's as much as I can, so I'm gonna get that Fujin enchant call just to be able to squeeze that little bit extra of efficiency out of one of my favorite characters. And so I ended up going 1,000 tickets deep for Fujin, which was absurd. I had to drain a few summon boards, things like that. But I also got Golbez's BT out of it, which ended up being one of my favorite toys to play with. So weird case where it ended up being a lot more worthwhile than I expected it to be. That being said, this is the first time I've actually used her as something other than a call. So hey, yeah. Pretty exciting. If you're still watching this, actually, let me know in the chat if there are any cases where, you picked up a character, thought to yourself, I'm never actually really going to use this, and then, months later found them, you pulled them out and they ended up coming in real handy in a fight you didn't expect them to show up for. I'd be interested to hear if anyone else has similar tales like that. Now, as you can see, we can finally battery. The orb has shown up. And that's going to be the part of the fight that we're being careful about, because obviously we have HP silence, we have delays, we're not really worried about this guy actually killing us. The only way we could really die here is if something goes horribly wrong with the orb. So I put on the Kurosame call as soon as possible, along with the Jack call to maximize our damage. Because of that, I want to take advantage of that enchant. So I will soon be tagging out Arciela for Cloud of Darkness. I guess I could have used LD there to queue up the burst phase, but eh. So Cloud of Darkness Friend is kind of the new hotness in terms of premium friend units. And after this fight I understood why, because I definitely did not use it optimally, and it was still, the contributions it made were kind of insane. Because you see there, that's, doing over 100,000 damage with that laser. Basically every action Cloud of Darkness is contributing a full character turn's worth of damage, give or take, on top of whatever your team did that turn. So during Garland's burst phase, an additional 100,000 damage on every attack is going to be insane. Like, I kind of took it for granted. I've seen Noctis follow-ups and stuff. Like, I know it's good, but this is the first time it really clicked in my head, like, oh, this is adding an additional, like, what, 500,000 damage, give or take? Probably more than that, to Garland's burst phase alone. Like, jeepers. Not even getting into stuff like, using calls or C65s while it's out. Gee, yeah, like nearly a 2 million damage burst phase, including these lasers. And there's another one. One thing that I didn't handle very well with this this fight is you don't want the Cloud of Darkness friend to get breaks like the one that we just got there, because then it gets a consecutive turn, and it's basically on the field for a shorter amount of time, meaning fewer follow-up attacks. Still plenty good to deal a bunch of damage and ultimately help us with the orb and stuff. But wowzers. Hindsight, maybe I should have Brave attacked while I was in that launch so I could have queued up this EX. Wasn't really thinking about it. Goodness great. Just the damage that this character can put out. I will say I used Cloud of Darkness in the challenge quest, and I don't think the on-the-field playstyle is really my cup of tea. I actually talked about this on the stream last night a little bit, but basically, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that outside of the LD, that ebb and flow playstyle with building up the stacks and then having the big attack, it didn't feel good to me. And I think the little thing that would have put it over the edge for me would have been if, oh yeah, here's some fun stuff, managing the orb using Fujin's AA to get some extra follow-ups. I think if breaking with Cloud of Darkness could let you overflow to 6 stacks, I think that would have been the thing that felt better, just so that it felt like it wasn't being inefficient. But I don't know. Sometimes my brain works in weird ways, and so like a weird thing is the thing that turns me off to a character. So for some reason, Cloud of Darkness is good. I kind of undersold it on my Should You Pull video, specifically because there's a lot of hype around it, and I wanted to kind of manage that hype. The character's still quite powerful, though. Still does good damage, still has some great delay utility. The fact that it actually gets its consecutive on-break turn for breaks with its counterattack is kind of nifty. Just not really my cup of tea, so I probably won't be pulling it out all too often. Because by contrast, if I need a delay character, I actually really enjoy using Garland. I find him very satisfying to use. Ditto for Emperor, Cloud, whatever. Like, there are other delay characters I have where, like, I don't feel like that sense of, like, I don't know, I'm not really enjoying this. So you're down to 30% here, which is perfect because we have 90 turns, and we're just kind of cooking with gas now. I was hoping with this, with that launch there, I'd kind of lost track of Garland's EX charge and was hoping that it was going to be ready and that would battery him. Unfortunately, I was really off the mark there. At this point, I'm realizing I should probably summon and take advantage of some of these skills and the higher damage ceiling that the Divine Summon gives. The boss's turns are far away. I was really worried that the orb was going to cause a problem with only one delayer on the team, not counting Fujin's AAs. What I hadn't accounted for is the fact that Garland also delays in launch. So really, the orb just hasn't been an issue for us. Because basically, Fujin occasionally functions as a pseudo-delayer on some of her turns. But as you can see, also the speed down stacking, well, speed up from Fujin, is also, I think, contributing to this, because normally I don't think this, this little delay would be enough to put the boss in the state that it currently is in. And that's why when I see a boss that says, hey, don't use this debuff on me, I say, well, what happens if I do? I'm getting a little bit anxious, not about the turn count, but just about the skill count of some of my characters. I mean, Arciela couldn't go for days at this point because she's the one who tagged out. But you can see Fujin and Garland are starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel for their skills. Guy's surprisingly tanky, given that we've had Jack and Kurosame on him the whole time. Still, this late in the fight, we're hitting for cap damage. Like we're doing some good work here. Once again, another mid-air launch, keeping the orb from being anything close to threatening. Around now is when I realized, hey, I think I actually am allowed to have battery. Let's put Fast Cast back on. Perfect timing this late in the fight. So what I did there, with the Brave attack, Fujin's speed up has been screwing with my the EX charge, and so I want Garland to get a big, chunky EX. And that's what we're going to get. We're almost there. Just 1% more to go down. Making sure it's 90 and not 80 turns. Man, 80 turns would have kind of sucked. There we go. Divine Brothers Lufenia. Hope you enjoyed. This was a fun team to use. I enjoyed using Fujin, I gotta say. Maybe she was undersold a bit. I don't know if she was good, but I thought she was fun. Anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Adios.